We will broadcast in a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are going live now.
Good evening to all our friends in India. Good morning and early good morning to all our friends in Toronto. Welcome to Together 2021. First and foremost, we want to start the proceedings by congratulating all of the students who are online with us today, who have shown the courage and the creativity to build something new, to build something amazing, and to bring their startup to life. We're excited to work with you through the next week to help you to take everything to the next level alongside your fellow students, mentors, and trainers that are part of the program. So welcome and congratulations for being here and getting to the final 50 at this stage from hundreds of applications that came from across the country. We're excited to welcome you here on behalf of the Schulich School of Business, York University, the Lausanne School of Engineering, and also with our partners from Startup India as you begin the process of training and preparing to take your business to the next level. A first few thoughts on the why behind what we're doing. It was a year ago, last November, where I had the opportunity to visit India, to come to visit the Schulich School of Business campus in Hyderabad and meet with the students there, to be inspired by their passion and creativity in their academic careers, and also have the opportunity to meet with our advisory board from Schulich in India, which included Dr. Reddy, Mr. Tata, and many other incredible entrepreneurs and leaders from the country. And as part of that, for myself, it inspired a next level connection to want to work with the young people in India and find opportunities to do interesting things. During the pandemic, that led to the opportunity to create an internship program with Schulich Startups, where we matched these young students with founders in Toronto to give them work integrated learning opportunities remotely that were now possible as part of this Zoom world that we've joined in the pandemic. And that fortunately led us to connect with Startup India, with Kavya, with Mr. Bagla, with the whole incredible team with the government of India. And this concept of coming together and having our students in Canada from York University and the students from India team up and see what they could create and how they could build these companies that they were thinking about to the next level. I have to say that it's been an amazing 90 days. Can you believe that? Only 90 days ago that we started this, and here we are with 100 students from India, with 150 students from York University, and with 100 mentors, the speakers, the wonderful people we'll be joined with to talk to us today, all coming together in 90 days to make something happen. It's a real testament, even in a year, as we've just entered 2021, but leaving 2020, in a year where we were faced with many challenges and hardships around the world, there's a new spirit of collaboration and togetherness. And the world has come closer together through our ability to connect and I think do business, trust each other, and partner faster in an online video world through Zoom than we've ever seen in the history of the planet. So I think this one small project is testament to how we can work together more closely globally as we continue into 2021. So thank you everyone who's here today. We're going to get into the agenda in a moment, but I'd like to pass it over to my co-host Kavya to bring greetings from Startup India.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening and good morning, everyone. The first Monday of 2021 marks the launch of Together 2021, a joint initiative between Schulich School of Business, York University, Canada, and Startup India, Invest India, Government of India, to accelerate innovation value chain and technology commercialization through initiatives having special focus on student entrepreneurs from both the countries. Such a bilateral engagement facilitated by key stakeholders, governments, accelerators, incubators, and companies aim to lead ways for better economic and social development of both the countries. India is ranked number 3 in the world in terms of the number of unicorns, number 2 in the world by the number of startups, and number 1 in the world in the number of new startups emerging every single day. Data shows that 6 startups emerge in India every day. This year alone, that is 2020, India added 7 unicorns to its kitty despite disruptions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Startup India is at the heart of these efforts that are leading India's objectives towards self-reliability, sustainability, and innovation for masses. Startup India was an initiative launched by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi on 26 January 2016. The action plan that lies at the crux of this initiative focuses on three areas: simplification and handholding, funding support and incentives, and industry academic partnership and incubation. Guided by this action plan, Startup India is delighted to be a partner with Schulich School of Business for Together 2021. Overwhelmed with the number of applications and ideas, we are ecstatic to welcome the 50 student teams comprising of 100 Indian students and 150 Canadian students, 100 mentors, 50 from India, 50 from Canada, 10 championship and semi-final judges, and numerous industry and startup ecosystem partners and supporters who have supported this initiative. We welcome the panelists and the speakers, along with the audience today who have joined us from around the world for the launch of Together 2021. Chris, over to you.
Thank you, Kavya. So let's take a look for everyone at how the 7 days are going to unfold. We're working together from today through to next Sunday. And along that journey, we'll be working with the student teams, but also thinking about a few key things. One, India is the primary market for these student companies, these young companies that are emerging. And we're excited to have a whole wealth of experience coming from trainers, from key speakers like we have today, and mentors as well too. We have a couple of key themes that Kavya is going to take us through in a moment. And we'll also be supported by Schulich students and Lassonde students, 150 of them, whose role is to help to power up, to support these Indian student entrepreneurs with their academic training that they've learned as young engineering students and young master's students from the Schulich School of Business as well at York University. So Kavya, why don't you take us through the themes, and then we'll talk about some of the key people helping make this program work.
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you so much. The core of this program is guided by three values, which are self-reliability, sustainability, and social response. 8 sectors were chosen by Startup India and Schulich School of Business, and these sectors are sectors of national importance to both the countries. With this initiative, Startup India and Schulich School of Business aims to still the values of purpose and profit-based economy in the students representing both the countries. Purpose is the magic word here. Organizations where purpose becomes a driver of strategy and decision making, executives report a greater ability to deliver revenue growth and drive successful innovation and ongoing transformation. As you would learn from our VIP keynote speakers like Ms. Shaheen Misri, the founder and CEO of Teach for India, and Dr. Preetha Reddy, the executive vice chairperson of Apollo Hospitals, there is a systemic relationship between purpose, that is what we are here to do, and the measures, how we know how we are doing, and the method, that is how we do it. We encourage these students to tie sustainability, that is how your idea will impact the environment, social purpose, that is how will your idea strengthen the communities around you, and self-reliance, that is how will your idea encourage independence, to tie these values to the core of your ventures. We would request the student entrepreneurs to focus on defining their organization's culture of purpose that answers critical questions of who it is and why it exists. They must have a culture of purpose beyond making profit, a culture of purpose that guides behavior, influences strategy, and transcends leaders and endures. Chris, over to you.
Thanks, Kavya. So as we continue on with the session, we'd like to just give a quick shout out to the team. A few people in particular that we have to say are working hard behind the scenes. Vito, Rontu, Karan, our amazing program manager, who many of you have connected with, who is a product of the Schulich MBA in India program, recent graduate, and has worked in the startup scene extensively throughout India. And also Ashwin Joshi, the executive director of the MBA and the MBA in India program. We also want to say thank you to all the students who have been working behind the scenes. There's a team of 20 volunteer students who have been working, names like Shuvo, Mike, Abdul, Simran, Tamzid, Satwik, Faraz, and 20 more who have been doing incredible work to get us to this point. And we really appreciate everything you've been doing. Today for the event agenda, we're going to have our official opening ceremonies with our welcome remarks. Then we're going to move into some of our VIP keynote presentations and some words of thanks from President Lenten. And then after that, then we'll break off with the students. The rest of you can continue on with your amazing evenings and mornings. And then we'll continue on with the students for our first deep dive coaching session on pitch training with the preeminent pitch coach in Canada, Ben Stacy from Pittsburgh. And then afterwards, we'll have some time to work together. So students, get ready. There's a lot to listen to, but there's also a lot of work to get done today. So speaking about that training that's going to take place, for everybody involved, you might be interested what kind of trainers are coming to the table this week to work with our students. Well, as I said, first off is Ben Stacy, who's the top pitch trainer. He coaches many of the biggest and best startups in the country on how to refine their messages and speak to venture capitalists and judges. And also he advises venture capitalists on help to ask tough questions at the table when he's meeting with startups. Next, Mo Ali from the product faculty, who is one of the top trainers in product design and management in Canada, will be helping the students think through their products before moving on to Sunita from Mars and from the Mars Investment Accelerator Fund. Sunita, who's a Schulich alumna, will be talking about how to speak to venture capitalists. What are the numbers? What are the questions they'll be asking? And how to get inside thinking about how they think about your business when you're talking about your product and platform. The next day, we'll have Chevenet from Relay Ventures. And Chevenet is going to be having a micro panel with some special guests who are former Schulich Startup Night champions, talking about and guiding the students about what it's like to face judges, answer questions, and communicate live about your company, as opposed to doing it via video or a pitch deck. Then we're going to have a session on IP, how to think about IP, how to defend it, how to protect it, and again, how to communicate it to interested people who are thinking about your business with Anand and Anand. And then we have a final session for the semifinalists on further refining their pitch training and preparation with Frank Urshan from the DMZ, and Ben Stacy will be coming back at that point. Continuing on, we're going to take a quick nod to our mentors. This is really a unique feature of the program, which we'd like you to realize here, is that what we've done is we've taken 50 mentors from Canada, 50 mentors from India with diverse backgrounds in entrepreneurship or senior guides of the startup community and also venture capitalists. And we've paired them together, 50 from Canada, 50 from India. So already, I wish you could see the email connections that are happening behind the scenes. These mentors are as excited to work together and meet each other from across the world as the students are to work together. And already new friendships and connections are forming that we hope will lead to other business opportunities or partnerships as time goes on. So thank you again to all the mentors who are all volunteering their time throughout the week. Kavya, we have a group of world-class judges as well. You've done great work in helping put together some incredible people from India, and they're here in 3 levels, the first round, the semifinals, and the championships. A quick thought from you on the judges that we have lined up.
Thank you so much, Chris. We are so excited to introduce these wonderful judges. For example, we have with us Mr. Ankur Jain, who's the founder of Hostel Fund, Mr. Gaurav Chaturvedi, the partner at K Capital, led by Mr. Sasha Mirchandani, Mr. Prashant Matta, partner, Panache Ventures, Sanjana Basu, associate with Radical Ventures, Mr. Sahil Barua, who's the co-founder of Delivery, Mr. Ashutosh Kumar, who's the senior manager of T-Hub, John Gary, who's the national manager, and Nabila Merchant, who's associate with Relay Ventures. We're extremely excited and honored to have you guys as judges for our competition, and we really hope that the students learn from you. Sometimes an outside word and outside context adds more value than anything else. So we look forward to working with you, and I'm sure the students feel the same.
Thank you, Kavya. And a special shout out there to Sahil from Delivery, who's been on the phone with me from early in September, guiding me as we were starting to think about this and has been a great advisor to the program. Let's continue on and give a quick shout out to our key partners who have been supporting this. We couldn't make all this happen without these partners supporting us to help us fund the program, the prizing for the competition. We have cash prizing for the student teams and for the supporting student teams from Canada as well too. And that's thanks to all of these incredible organizations that you see here. In particular, we'll give a shout out to both the City of Toronto, Leverage EDU, Apollo Hospitals, and ICICI Bank as 4 of the first organizations that jumped on board to help us really early on. You know, jumping on board first is always the tough part, Kavya, in terms of getting people going. But these were organizations that showed real leadership. And everyone here in the group, from ICCC to TIE Toronto, has been incredible in helping us recruit companies and get things going together. So thanks everyone here who's been helpful. Tendentia Ventures as well, and Indochino, Oro Pharma, great companies all getting on board behind the students, believing in them. Continuing on, we'll take a quick shout out as well. There were many personal donors who supported us. Won't read through all their names, but just to say a thank you. These are all individuals who stepped up and donated personally towards specifically the student prize pool. And we want to help to boost these companies at the end and give them some investment to go forward with. And it's people like this who have stepped forward to help make that a possibility. And we want to say thank you. Okay, so that's brings us to our welcome remarks, Kavya. And I'll turn it over to you. And as we go through, Kavya and I will both be introducing different members of the welcoming group this morning. Kavya.
Thank you so much, Chris. We are so excited, and it is our absolute honor to have some great personalities who are here with us today. We have Mr. Deepak Bagla, who's the CEO and MD of Invest India, Dr. Ajay Chaudhary, who's the founder of HCL, Ms. Asta Grover, who's heading the Startup India initiative, Honorable Minister Victor Fideli, who is the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade for Government of Ontario, Mr. Raphael Christian Roy, who is the co-founder and National Managing Director for Row Ventures, Neyman Podeo, who is the founder and Chief Product Officer of TripStack and the founder of Flight Network. I'll start off with, it gives me immense pleasure that we have with us today Mr. Deepak Bagla. Mr. Deepak Bagla is the Managing Director and CEO of Invest India, the National Investment Promotion and Facilitation Agency promoted by the Government of India. Invest India is also the execution agency for Government of India's Startup India initiative. He is a special invitee on the official bilateral CEOs forum and a member of the Venture Capital.
Kavya, 1 minute. We don't need to do all that. Today, the stars are you. So I'm sorry I'm cutting that short, but truly what you and Chris and the entire student team has done is incredible. And I can't think of a better way for us to start a new year. It's truly a treat. And on behalf of all the panelists and everyone here, congratulations to Chris, to Kavya, and the entire team. I must say it is incredible. 90 days and what you've got through. And I have to thank everyone who's joined us to make this possible, the donors, the mentors, each one of you who's guided the team in this entire effort, the entire student team. I'm extremely excited, overwhelmed, and actually amazed at what has happened in one of the most worst lockdowns in human history. You guys have created an initiative, which I think is the start of a completely new chapter. And there's no better way to start the new year. And it is my privilege to welcome Minister Fideli. Minister, we can't think of a better person to lead us on this one. Your energy, you understand it. You're an entrepreneur yourself. And that is where that entire energy and the guidance will take it forward to what we've started today. And Ajay, you're an icon, as we all know in the Indian context so well. You've guided so many, and we look forward to continuing guidance from you. Dr. Lenten, your presence and your entire guidance to this effort really creates a lot of weight for us to take it forward. And Preetha, Dr. Reddy, you've always been a big support, not just to Invest India in all our endeavors, in also to Startup India, and in every which way. And personally, the kind of support and mentorship you've provided right through has been a number of startups have seen the success being based on your guidance. And Shaheen, you run an amazing program, which is the Teach for India program. For those who are not yet acquainted with it, it's one of those programs which I have a very deep respect for. And they're doing some exemplary work in India. And your presence and your guidance will really take this forward in a big way. Roy, we are all looking forward to seeing your checks come in and your guidance. You're going to play a very critical role in this, so we will be taking more and more of your time. I'm sure Chris and Kavya will not let you go away just after a few remarks. And we look forward to that. And Naman, you've already created so many successes. The time now has come to see how you're going to multiply it by taking it forward. Kavya has shared with me some very interesting demographics of the cohort, of the first cohort, if I may speak in that manner. The 100 students we have from India are across 18 state governments. And very interestingly, 30% are women. So in the next cohort, maybe that number is going to go up significantly. 61% come from tier 2, tier 3 cities of India. This is a very important indicator. I've always been saying, as we move out of this virus, the new India is going to be bottom up, which is going to be driven by an engine from my small towns and cities. And these are the creators of those engines who joined us today. The 9 areas they come in is from agriculture, engineering, management, fashion. Very interesting. Minister, something close to your heart. Computer science, mathematics, biological sciences, physics, and journalism. And the cohorts are right across from masters, bachelors, PhDs. And the ideas generated by the students are from 7 sectors specifically, which is education, environment, energy efficiency, healthcare. Nothing more important than that in the current context, if I may add. Food and agriculture, income security, fintech, e-mobility, telecom. It's a very, very impressive cohort and a very impressive set of people you've got all together. So let me congratulate the team once again and thank each and every one of you who've joined us in this entire endeavor. And let's together see not just for these 7 weeks, but just these 7 days, but see how these 7 days create a foundation where we build it up further for many more years to come. So thank you very much, Chris and Kavya, back to you. And truly congratulations and giving us this honor to start off this new year on such a high note. Thank you.
Sir, I keep reminding you that you're the North Star that is guiding the Startup India initiative. You don't give yourself enough credit for it. So thank you very much, sir, for making yourself available today and moreover for guiding us through this entire initiative.
Thank you, Mr. Bagla. Your efforts have been wonderful in supporting us. Your energy is always so on point in terms of keeping us going and keeping us going through those long 2 time zone days and nights. And we appreciate everything the Startup India and Invest India team has done. It's been a great partnership. So thank you again for joining us today. Kavya?
Thank you. It is a pleasure to have with us for this launch event, Mr. Ajay Chaudhary. He is one of the 6 founder members of HCL, established in 1976 as one of the India's original IT garage startups. HCL is a pioneer of modern computing with many firsts to its credit, including the introduction of the 8-bit microprocessor-based computer in 1978. A highly decorated Indian industry icon, philanthropist, and a mentor, he is an inspiration for the young Indians. He is currently the chairman board of governors at National Institute of Foundry and Forge Technology and International Institute of Information Technology. He is now focusing on incubating entrepreneurs by aiding startups. He is also on the board of the Indian Angel Network. He is also on the investment committee of the IAN Fund and the EDF Fund. He mentors many startups. Mr. Ajay Chaudhary set up a charitable trust called Swayam, which is committed to providing education support to deserving children who cannot afford good education. Mr. Ajay Chaudhary has constantly been driving vision of IT for the masses and has been on several government committees working towards taking PC and broadband to every village in India. Sir, we are so thankful that you have agreed to come on this panel and you have agreed to address these 250 students. I'd request you to kindly share a few words.
Thank you, Kavya. I think it's a very exciting moment for India and a very exciting moment for Startup India. And I'm a great, great supporter of anything that happens in the startup ecosystem. And so I thought I'll just trace the history of sort of evolution of entrepreneurs in India. It's very interesting. If you look historically, Indian entrepreneurship started way back when trading was a major area. And India dominated the world in commerce around 1500 AD. I mean, we're talking about a long, long time ago. And then 1600 AD, in Surat, there was the first known entrepreneur, and his name was Virji Bora. And he was the first entrepreneur that has been known from there. And this was followed by many, many big names in entrepreneurship, like the Birlas, the Goenkas, the Srirams, and then the new change makers like J.R.D. Tata, M.S. Oberoi, and Jamnalal Bajaj. Now, there are many areas where entrepreneurship developed in India. But I think the most known area is IT. And IT took off when a whole bunch of new engineers emerged on the scene, and major institutes like IITs and IIMs were set up, and all kinds of global companies like IBM entered India. And at that particular stage, one of the pioneers who set up software and created the whole story of India startup, India offshoring was TCS, Tata Consulting Services. They set up in 1968. So that's the beginning of the IT industry in India. When globalization hit India, the IT industry grew with new entrepreneurs. And pretty much 99% of today's industry in IT are all entrepreneurs, first-time entrepreneurs. And people like Shiv Nadar, people like Narayan Murthy, and people like Azim Premji became icons of entrepreneurship. When venture or angel funding was non-existent, all these businesses were bootstrapped. I still remember when 6 of us started HCL, which is now a $9.5 billion company, we started with $2,500, and that's how we started. So today, this whole industry is a $200 billion industry. And primarily today, this whole industry is focused on the global market. So that's very interesting that although in India, we've created a lot of software for India, but most of these companies are pretty much global. Now, the second industry that really spawned off entrepreneurship in India, the story started in somewhere around the 1970s, and that's the pharma industry. The pharma industry started with the original Indian Patent Act, which came up in 1970, and a new generation of entrepreneurs seized that opportunity. And by 1990s, the production of bulk drugs took off. And as I saw around the 2000s, India became a major manufacturer of branded and generic drugs. Today, India is the third largest in volume in terms of drugs being manufactured. And it's pretty much a $50 billion industry today. And of course, one of the major impacts that India made towards through pharma was to create medicines which were reasonably priced. So I think when we were looking at a huge HIV issue globally, India came up with a solution that was 1/50th of the price of the original products that we could see in the world. So I think great contributions in HIV and vaccines. That's been a very big area for India. And today, India is the largest manufacturer of vaccines in the world. If you look at COVID times, everybody's been waiting for India to start production. And the good news is that India started production in anticipation of a product being ready. It's never been done before. But one of our entrepreneurs, Poonawalla, decided that he's going to take a risk. He'll start manufacturing and producing vaccines even if before they were approved globally. So I think it's all a story of entrepreneurship and taking risks, and then the rewards come. So I think he is quite determined to make vaccines available to the world at $4 rather than the huge number that you see in the US today. Now, coming to the next phase of entrepreneurship, it fundamentally is defined by consumerism. And as the expendable incomes increased in India, many new business and models got created. More capital became available. And as internet and mobile phones happened, all kinds of models happened with e-commerce, specialized retail, marketplaces. So there was a huge wave of entrepreneurial activity in India. Due to the success of such models in the US, new opportunities got created. And this resulted in the birth of companies in India like Flipkart, Ola, Swiggy, Paytm. And a lot of these companies learned to compete with global entrants. So they did not just have a strategy for India. They could actually compete globally and with global entrants. New models that I see ahead are going to be pretty much based on deep tech, which is something that India is very seriously working on, and IP driven. And I think the target customer is no longer only India. And an increasing number of startups are actually being born global. These entrepreneurs are building in India for the world and becoming more product focused rather than the services that happened earlier. The government's big initiative of Digital India has spawned off many stacks. And these stacks are globally known today, like the India stack, the health stack, and recently started the Digital Sky. Digital Sky is about drones. So startups are using these stacks to create many applications. And I see AI and ML to create many global solutions across different sectors. Interestingly, the new wave in India is also creating more B2B startups. And I think that's a very major change that I'm seeing today in the market, where earlier it was all B2C, now it's B2B. And again, people are using deep tech and IP-driven solutions. So interestingly, I've seen new names appear, and Delivery is one of them who's sitting around today, and they are one of those B2B startups that have happened in the country. Dhruva, Delivery, Udaan, Purple, Capital Flow, and whole bunch of SaaS companies like Fresh Desk have also become very, very successful. So India added close to 2,300 B2B startups in the last 5 years, and that's a huge number. This is happening due to increased corporate involvement and B2B focused VC funds and the rise of deep tech, AI, IoT, and RPA. So I believe that the future holds immense promise for us, for entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chaudhary. And I really appreciate how you gave us that sense of the depth and the breadth of the Indian innovation and entrepreneurial economy and ecosystem. I think every one of the students here today can see where their startups fit into that story, and they all hope to build on that. I'll take away a couple key things from what you talked about. One was starting off with $2,500. If that's not inspiration for everyone here today from where they're starting out, I don't know what is. So thank you for reminding us of that. Most entrepreneurial endeavors begin quite humbly in terms of when they start out, and you've recognized that in your own story.
Can I add something here for you?
Please.
Can I add something? I have a great belief in something that I always tell startups. I always say A is greater than R. Stands for aspiration, R stands for resources. So I always say, if you have the aspiration, resources will happen.
Thank you. It's a great starting point for them to start the week with the limited resources that they have, but the great aspirations that they're bringing to the table. And we hope to help them along with that as we go forward. So thank you again, Dr. Chaudhary, and Kavra, back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chaudhary. Thank you so much, Chris. We have with us next Ms. Asta Chaudhary, Ms. Asta Grover. Ms. Asta Grover heads Startup India team at Invest India. She has been the air beneath the wings of the Together 2021 initiative. Ms. Grover is in charge for driving the vision of the Startup India initiative to promote sustainable economic growth, help all ecosystem stakeholders generate large-scale employment opportunities. Her team, Startup India Hub, serves as a single point of contact for the entire startup ecosystem in India and enables exchange of knowledge and provides access to market and funding. Under her leadership, the team has worked towards recognizing 41,000 plus startups and created India's largest virtual incubator with over 400,000 users. Under her guidance, Startup India has created a pan-India facilitation architecture for entrepreneurs and driven high-impact projects involving the private sector, state governments, and international organizations to build a robust startup ecosystem in India. Ms. Grover also works towards the ecosystem activation piece by working with various government departments for procurement from startups, Fortune 500 companies, and incubators to help pilot initiatives with startups and provide market access opportunities. She also works towards internationalization of startups in the Asia Pacific, Europe, and the US. Asta, I request you to kindly say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kavya. Thank you, Chris, for kickstarting this wonderful initiative. Good morning and good evening to everyone, to the Honorable Minister. It's my extreme pleasure to be addressing you all this morning. It's been a very exceptional journey for me. So I've been associated with the Startup India initiative since the time the Honorable Prime Minister announced it back in 2016. You've already heard about how the ecosystem has grown, and you've heard, you'll be hearing from more entrepreneurs. But for me personally, it's been very fulfilling because I got to see the ecosystem grow leaps and bounds from where we started back in 2015 and 16 to where we are today. To put it very simply and to give you a context, when we started, the number of startups were as high as the Leaning Tower of Pisa, but today we are more than 40,000 plus startups, as tall as the Burj Khalifa. When we look at access to resources and providing capital, back then the funding was equivalent to 1 Kohinoor. Today we are almost as equivalent to 7 Kohinoors. For me, what is more important is how the ecosystem has grown from the key hubs of Delhi, Mumbai, and Bangalore to all across the states and union territories in India. With today in India, we have every state that has at least one entrepreneur looking to provide jobs to other people and becoming a job creator rather than a job seeker. What comes with this job is the extraordinary things that I get to do, is the opportunity to meet young people in every region of India, to see the problem solving and energy and optimism that young minds are bringing to everything, from how electricity is generated in environmentally sound ways in remote places to how you employ women in remote areas and what you often have been locked out opportunities. There is enormous creativity waiting to be tapped. To share an example, when there was the pollution scene in India was too high at its peak, there was a student entrepreneur who developed an app for the odd and even problem in India. India came up with a unique plan where on the odd days of the month, only odd numbered cars would be out, and on the even days, only even number car would be out. How to manage this entire thing, how to ensure you're carpooling in the right way. There was a student entrepreneur who developed this app very quickly, very fast, and that was then taken over by other startups and helped the ecosystem enormously. That's the power of creativity and passion which entrepreneurs today are driving. And I'm happy to help these new ideas every single day as a part of my job. Part of our job is also to provide the right resources, right tools in the hands of these students who are changing the world and making sure that all of you know each other so that you can share best practices and ideas and spread the right word. As you would learn from the 100 incredible mentors from India and Canada, that starting your own journey is not easy. As Mr. Chaudhary already mentioned, what it takes is actually aspiration and persistence. You must meet the right people, you must have the right mentors. Sure, you must have the right access to resources and capital, but all what you need is persistence to believe in yourself every day, each single day, and keep going. That's why we've invested so much time and effort to make sure that Startup India is helping to empower young student entrepreneurs like you. To the 50 student teams, don't be shy while you're here. We've got the best of mentor lineup, we've got the best investors, corporates, experts. Talk to them, make your pitch, network with potential investors, hear their thoughts. Don't be shy of pivoting. Take that right risk that would help you, make your idea successful. And even if you don't succeed, celebrate your failure, learn from your mistakes, and don't be afraid to start again. Because ultimately, the world needs your creativity and your energy and your vision. I think we believe that you have the talent and the skills, and we have an ambitious lot of people who have joined us. I was reading the chat window, and all the introductions I got to know from the chat window, a very promising bunch of young founders. You've already heard Mr. Ajay Chaudhary, founder member of HCL, and we have more entrepreneurs in line for you. Dr. Preeta Reddy, Vice Chairperson Apollo, Ms. Shaheen Mistry, Mr. Raphael Christian Roy, Mr. Neyman Podeo. I just want you to take that from every journey is unique and different. And your journey should be different in its own way. While we learn from the mistakes of others, don't be afraid to make your own mistakes. Don't be afraid to write your own journey afresh on every new sheet every day. Finally, I'd also like to thank President Rhonda Lenten and the Dean of Schulich School of Business, Mr. Ashwin Joshi, Mr. Chris Carter, for spearheading this joint venture in Canada and making this program a grand success. Your team's support has been crucial in the triumph of this initiative. I would also like to thank the 100 mentors from India and Canada, representing over 20 different sectors, who have graciously accepted our invitation to mentor these young students. On behalf of the Startup India team, I'd like to extend a word of thanks to the Honorable Minister, Mr. Vic Fideli, who has been wholeheartedly supporting this initiative. So we definitely look forward to a long-standing partnership with the Ontario Government, City of Toronto, and York University. I'm sure this is the beginning of an extraordinary partnership, and we thank all the stakeholders for joining us today. Thank you, Kavya. Thank you, Chris. Over to you both.
Thank you so much, Astha.
Thank you, Ms. Grover. And just want to say Startup India has been, as we've said, fantastic to work with. Special shout out to Kavi here. To do something like this requires a commitment to be around the clock, night and day, weekday, weekend, working on New Year's, Christmas, Diwali, whatever it was. And she brought it every single one of those 90 days. And she was representative of your group. So thank you for everything that you brought forward. Next up, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce the Honorable Victor Fedeli, Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade for the Government of Ontario. And really a special person to have in this regard to speak on behalf of the government, and that Mr. Fedeli is also a lifelong entrepreneur, a successful business person, author, and philanthropist. And he served in the government of Ontario in his role, but also as the chair of cabinet. And so he's bringing to the mix today not only his experience in as being a leader within Ontario, but also as an entrepreneur and his experiences and insights. Minister Fedeli, thank you for joining us, and I'd welcome you to share your comments.
Well, hello, everyone. On behalf of the Government of Ontario, we'd like to welcome you all to today's virtual opening ceremony of Startup India. As Ontario's Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, supporting Ontario's businesses, including startups, and accelerating their ability to scale up, that's central to our government's mission. So my few minutes of opening will be more about the relationship that we have with our entrepreneurs. Many of you are who are here either are or will be game-changing entrepreneurs and startup founders making their mark here in Ontario and around the world. As leaders in Ontario's startup ecosystem, all of you, together with our organizations like the Schulich School of Business and Startup India, have your finger on the pulse of this community. Now, I got to tell you, I know Seymour Schulich and how thrilled he would be to see the details of what's happening here today. You have a partner in Ontario when it comes to the work you're doing to fuel cross-border collaboration in India and in Canada. In fact, our government has been working hard to strengthen ties between Ontario and India. Startup India can tap right into our on-the-ground presence with trade offices, investment offices in Delhi and in Mumbai. They are the people that we have there, the team that I have on the ground, are great resources for startups and established companies in India, who are obviously future thinking of expanding into Ontario. You're going to hear my sales message today. I'm a salesman. But you're also about investing in Ontario. And so when it comes to attracting international investment, I think this is important for startups as well. Ontario has a great story to tell. We have what's called an open for business, open for jobs approach, and that's to everything that we do. And that makes Ontario the #1 destination for foreign direct investment in terms of the number of jobs created in all of North America. So when you are growing and you're looking for a place, remember these few points. There are more than 60 Indian companies across all sectors who have operations and investments here in Ontario. There are 90,000 Ontarians of Indian origin, the largest Indian population in all of Canada. And we have 52,000 Indian post-secondary students who studied at Ontario's world-class universities and colleges in the 2018-2019 school year. So a few of the key reasons why so many global companies have already invested in Ontario include our talent. Ontario's #1 advantage is our people. Some of the best and brightest minds chose to call Ontario their home. We also have an unbelievable innovation ecosystem. Ontario has one of the most unique, the most collaborative innovation ecosystems on the planet, where businesses, academia, and government work together to drive revolutionary ideas to market. Earlier somebody talked about IP, how to protect it, how to grow it. We have really pushed for IP commercialization in Ontario. You'll see that in all our contracts with any of the agencies we have now, is putting such a huge importance on protecting our IP, but on commercializing it. So I was really thrilled to hear that. Our recent budget put an additional $3.75 million in to support work by the Ontario Center of Innovation and something called the Toronto Business Development Center. And both of these organizations have long-standing track records of supporting high growth firms from across our province and from India. Leveraging their experience with commercialization, these two organizations will initially focus on attracting emerging companies from India to expand their operations across Ontario and create new jobs for local workers. So another reason why Ontario is the #1 destination to do business is our vast access to global markets. We're open for business across the entire world. Not only our NAFTA 2.0 free trade agreement with the US and Mexico, but we have free trade agreements with about 50 countries. And that is why so many head offices are located here so they can, and companies are located here so they can do work around the world. Another is our diversity. Ontario has welcomed people from more than 150 countries, and over 200 languages are spoken here every day. Our friendlier visa climate means you will be part of a diverse population where people are welcome from around the world. With complementary economies, common goals, there's never been a better time for Ontario and India to collaborate in business by leveraging our mutual strengths. Global companies recognize that Ontario is ideal positioned to be a safe haven of growth, stability, and prudent governance in North America. So we can't wait for you to join us and build on the strong partnerships that Ontario and India share. This is going to be a really key factor in our mutual economic growth, and we're here to help you. We're here to help you grow. Enjoy all of today's events.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. It's been a pleasure to have you on this panel, and we are so grateful that you've provided a home away from home to so many Indians who are in Ontario. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Kavya, and thank you, Minister, again. Next up, we're going to be joined by Raphael Christian Roy, the co-founder and national managing director of Front Row Ventures, and also a venture capitalist at Real Ventures. Now, I'm really excited to have Raphael here with us today, as his initiative that he is the co-founder of is a very unique take on how to inspire students from across Canada to get involved in entrepreneurship, how to be involved in learning how to invest and uncover these opportunities, and created a world of opportunity across our universities and our campuses. He himself is an entrepreneur since childhood, doing everything from owning a car garage to window cleaning and a tech startup as well too. So he has an appreciation for all types of companies and entrepreneurial ventures. Raphael, welcome today, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts.
Thanks, Chris. Hello, everyone. It's truly a pleasure to be here. Thanks for these generous words, Chris. I always appreciate a good word from you. Honorable Ministers, I'm excited to be here this morning, or should I say tonight, for people that are based in India. It's truly amazing, and everyone, Chris, the team at Together 2021, thanks for the invite. It's truly amazing program that you've built there, that you've created there in the past months, that you've put together so quickly. As a software engineer, tech investor, and tech entrepreneur myself, I can't wait to see the ideas that will be built this week. Together 2021 is a real special program for me and my team at Front Row Ventures and Real Ventures, but I also truly believe that it's a special program for Canada, for a country. At Front Row Ventures and Real Ventures, my job is to invest in the best tech entrepreneurs in the country. Real Ventures being one of the most active early stage investors in the country, we see thousands and thousands of companies a year. But my job, more precisely at Front Row Ventures, is to find, nurture, and invest in the best entrepreneurs spinning out of university campuses. Founders that are building real sustainable startups while completing their university studies. It's not a small thing to start a business while being a student. And while history has proven that huge tech businesses can be founded on university campuses, and here I'm thinking about companies like Facebook, Google, Snapchat, Dropbox, Yahoo, Dell, even companies like Sounder that were created in Montreal out of McGill. And I obviously have invested myself in dozens of those companies, but it's not a small thing. But all of those companies, what they had all in common is that they were all supported and amplified by programs like Together 2021. This is why I'm personally excited to see this program see the light of the day, and why I jumped in so quickly when Chris and his team asked me a couple months ago. Again, congrats on building this program. For the 50 students teams here that will be taking part of that program this week in the coming days, good luck. Think outside the box. I am truly excited to see you pitch and exchange with you all next weekend during the live presentations. And I'll say one last thing as an advice to you guys. You should always try to build and solve real life problems. And by having, we talked about having limited resources. That's what it's all about to be an entrepreneur in tech, and leverage every resource that you have this week. And again, truly a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Chris. Thanks to the team, and good luck to everyone this week.
Thank you so much, Mr. Roy, for joining us today. We really hope that the students are able to impress you. And as Mr. Bagla said, we're not letting go of you that easy.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Raphael. And to all the student teams that are out there, now you've had your first meeting with one of the championship judges. So take note of the things that he's already looking for and giving you a few tips as you prepare throughout the week. Well, next up, it's my pleasure again to introduce Neyman Podeo, the founder and chief product officer of TripStack and the founder of Flight Network. Neyman is a prolific entrepreneur who has been building companies and to great scale and success, hundreds and hundreds of employees. Flight Network now has a staff of over 500. His next initiative, TripStack, is currently at 100 employees in Canada, and he is the most humble and thoughtful of entrepreneurs that I've had the opportunity to hang out and work with over the years. He also has a unique story that I think is interesting for us to reflect on here at Together 2021. And Neyman, it's my great pleasure to welcome you today and to share your thoughts.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Hello, everyone. I also wanted to start out by thanking Schulich, Startup India, and all the other parties for organizing this amazing event. I'm excited to spend a few minutes with you here today, and I've enjoyed listening to the speakers so far and for the rest of the day and for the week, as I'm also going to be one of the mentors. The themes that really engage me, it's more personal with this event, are really Canada, India, entrepreneurship, education, and mentorship. My parents and I were born in Kenya. My grandparents were born in Gujarat, India. My grandparents immigrated to Kenya for more opportunities for themselves and their children. And at a very young age, my parents immigrated to Ontario to give myself and my sister more opportunities. Entrepreneurship is something that I was really fortunate to grow up around in our house. When my father came over as a civil engineer, started an entry-level civil engineering company, and 15 years later, with two other partners, was able to purchase that company and grow it into a large, successful engineering firm. My mother also became an entrepreneur. She only had a high school education, and she was a travel agent, but she is a very charismatic person and was very well liked in the Toronto Lohana Indian community. And because of those strong relationships, many people in that community would buy their flight tickets from her. And at one point, the owner of that agency decided that they wanted to sell it and offered it to my mother. My mother wanted to purchase it. My dad did not want to purchase it. So sitting around the dinner table, there was always conversations of, what is the ROI? What are the risks? What about working capital? Can we manage these employees? And so it was an education constantly around the dinner table about learning about entrepreneurship. And that was, one of the key things is that was 30 years ago. And I'm glad my mother won that argument. She's still a successful entrepreneur and still running the company at 71 years of age. I thought to start a business when talking to my parents that you had to invent something new. And I found that a daunting challenge. But speaking with my parents, is that maybe you didn't have to invent something new. You could still create a lot of change and value to consumers or to build products by improving processes. And so some of the things that you grow up around are things that you know best. And so when I started my first company, it was around travel. And it was just to make a process that normally took an hour down to 3 minutes. So it really saved time and it provided efficiency to the travel community. One of the challenges is that I sold that company in 2001, and I sold it for all stock in the buyer's company. What happened is that 2001 dot-com bubble happened 6 months after selling it, and the stock price went down by 99%. So it was virtually worthless. So not a financial success, but there was so much to be learned there. And one of my messages to the entrepreneurs is that we all know that startups can succeed or fail. And I'm really looking forward to these 50 startups. And we know some will succeed and some will fail. And one of the key messages I wanted to impart is resilience. I'm actually have done 4 startups, and the first 2 both failed. I only found success on my 3rd and 4th try. And what we were is we really were an online travel agency selling flights globally. One of the key mistakes we made is that we originally built our code in Perl, which only 2% of developers around the world really, learn to write. Our CTO at the time was from India, and we were struggling hiring Perl developers in Canada. And has had a cousin in Ahmedabad, India, of all places, who knew how to program Perl. We decided to open office in Ahmedabad. And as Dr. Chaudhary said, there's so many computer engineering graduates in India that we worked with local universities to hire recent graduates to learn Perl, and we taught them Perl. And within the first year, we had 80 people in our Ahmedabad office. As Chris mentioned, we've got about 400 team members in India right now, in Ahmedabad, Mumbai, and most recently, we opened an office in Pune, where we worked with the College of Engineering in Pune to, again, hire new graduates, this time writing in C++. We've learned so much on how to work together with not only time zones and cultures, but one of the key important things when working between Canada and India was to be one team, not one organization with a Canada team and an India team. There's been lots of learnings there, and it's been worked very successfully as well. The other thing that really appealed for this program is education as a personal and philanthropic passion for myself. I was really drawn to how the students are so woven into this event. Personally, I believe in education and self-improvement. Our first office was in Ahmedabad in Gujarat. Me being Gujarati, one of the things that we did as an organization was we built a school in Gujarat as well. And I think that's what's really special about this event as well. I'm excited about being a member, and I really look forward to connecting with many of you this week or even beyond for you to reach out to me and I can help you in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Podeo. It's a pleasure to have you with us, especially as a mentor. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Neyman. Really appreciate you being here today. Kavya, let's continue on with the program.
Absolutely. 3 women leaders who are leading the world with the storm. Hard work and going the extra mile is important, without which you can't be successful. Having the dream is easy, making it come true is hard. These are the words of our first panelist, Dr. Preetha Reddy. Carrying the Apollo beacon of hope, Dr. Preetha Reddy is the vice chairperson of the Apollo Hospitals Group, Asia's foremost integrated healthcare provider, and is widely recognized for her contributions in making high-quality healthcare accessible to millions around the country. She is known for her support to various entities and industry bodies working for the betterment of India. Apollo Hospitals is acclaimed as the pioneer of the private healthcare in India and was India's first corporate hospital. She leads the thrust on quality improvement processes to achieve the highest standards in patient satisfaction. She is the managing trustee of Apollo Hospitals Educational Trust, a principal body steering the educational endeavors of the group. In addition, Dr. Preetha Reddy works with industrial bodies and the Government of India to advance policy decisions on healthcare. She was the founding member of the Quality Council of India, and under her guidance, Apollo Hospitals worked with the Government of India in introducing NAB accreditation. It's an absolute honor and delight to have Dr. Reddy with us today. I'd request her to share her journey and her aspirations with the students, mentors, and the stakeholders present here today. Dr. Reddy, over to you.
Namaste and good morning to all of you. It's a delight to be with everyone today. Honorable Minister, members of the Schulich community, the entrepreneurs on the program, and students and multiple leaders. I come from Chennai, India, and belong to a healthcare community. It was something my father started 37 years ago. And as the saying goes that most institutions come into being because there's a crying need from society, and that's precisely what happened with our organization. Um, there was a young man who couldn't go to the US in time for a heart surgery. And that made my father think that we need to bring healthcare of higher standards for people in our own country, because if not, where would all of them go? And that was the birth of Apollo. I am a very proud Indian citizen, and for us, I think it's not about us. There is no personal journey. It's actually the journey of the institution. Apollo is about 80,000 people strong, and more than a tenth of them are actually clinicians of very high caliber. And all of us work together with that one single point agenda, and that is to bring healthcare of the highest standards to our people. This year, I think, has been totally devastating for most of humanity. And humanity at large is grappling with a crisis, a medical crisis, an economic crisis, and also a climate crisis, by the way. And if there is an action that can really address this, I think it's entrepreneurship. The government of India or entrepreneurs in our country have over the past 10 months come up with so many innovations that, I'm amazed at the speed, the accuracy, and the quality of delivery. For example, we realized that ventilators, there's going to be a crisis. Automobile companies pitched in to produce ventilators. Now we don't have to worry about, do we really have ventilators during a crisis? So that again was entrepreneurship and innovation. On the same vein, it was like, okay, who would run these ventilators? So one of the entities within the Apollo system, which was called MedVarsity, came up with an e-learning program to train people to use ventilators. Today, it has crossed over 300,000 people who have gone online to learn this program. It was totally free because it was just a social contribution during this crisis. But we have realized that, with learning of this quality and this level, people really want to learn much more. So it was serendipity, but it was an innovative idea which really helped us set up again, one division which would now reach out for training for medical personnel, hand-holding them through, the learning process. And I think that again was innovation and entrepreneurship which happened within the group. As an institution and as an organization, our journey has, a very simple mantra. We are our Apollo Hospital starts with an A, but we want to give ourselves a AAA rating, which I think is probably the best rating any organization looks for. The first A, which we really want to, look at, is affordability. So there are multiple methodologies, innovative methodologies for people to actually be able to afford healthcare. It started with a small experiment in my dad's village where we said for 1 rupee a day, 365 rupees a year, people can get reinsured and be able to access and afford healthcare as and when they need it. So that again was an innovation for us. Accountability. We need to be accountable of outcomes. Otherwise, there is no point running a network of hospitals. So we came up with a technology and a plan where every outcome was monitored. So if somebody stayed in a hospital, let's say beyond a certain number of days for a certain procedure, the system would flag it up. So it was called ACE, It was innovative, it was catchy, it had checklists, it had training programs. So outcomes are tracked by the Apollo ACE. Now we're going on to version 3. And this again was, a commitment to quality. Many healthcare systems across the country have now adopted the same system, and you can literally track quality parameters, quality outcomes, and be able to monitor how patients perform after a certain procedure is done. So that was ACE for you. And the other, really important part of delivering on healthcare is accountability. I think we as an organization have to be accountable to our staff, to our shareholders, and to the patient and community at large. So how can we find ways and means and methodology to do that? While there is what we call a corporate social responsibility, which is CSR, there's also a lot of training which has to be given to people for them to really become environmentally conscious, and more than anything else, conscious of their own health, conscious of their community's health, and conscious of the health of people within their own ecosystems. So we came up with a plan called Pro Health, where people are screened, where people are educated, and where the community at large is taught different methodologies to actually stay healthy. And this again has, when we started looking at the healthcare parameters within our, own organization, within our own employees, we realized that the productivity went up, medical costs went down, and people were really that much happier. And I think this is again how an accountable organization can really reach out to their own staff and try and see that they live a better and a healthy and a more productive life. So many innovative plans and programs really make a difference in people's lives, and we have to find ways and means to do that. And I think in India, the most exciting delivery in terms of healthcare has been on the vaccines. We have been able to now 2 of our vaccines, which are produced in India, are ready to hit the market, are ready to be rolled out within a week from the time we're speaking now. And this has been completely made in India, while the IPR for some did come from Oxford and from the US. The other one was completely homegrown. So I think innovation, entrepreneurship during a crisis is always the best, and it always is there for us to do. And for us to really, our mindset has to look into the future. Our mindset has to look into levels of service which will really impact the lives of humanity and the lives of people. And I think that is really what entrepreneurship is all about. Of course, there are 2 kinds of innovations, entrepreneurship, startup, if we want to call it. The first kind is one which you build it, and you build it to sustain, you build it to make a difference, and it's something which is always yours as generations go. And you build value and you think of sustainability. The other kind, and which is probably the norm now, but it's also very good, is that you build it quick, you build it to scale, you build it for valuations, and you build it with an intent that maybe I can actually exit at a certain point and be able to go on and build something else. I think there is room for both kinds of innovations, for both kinds of entrepreneurship, one which is built to last and one which is built to bring value, to bring shareholders value. And I think that if we can coexist with both, if we can use the best practices from both, to build businesses for the future, it would be an exciting future for us and for the future generations. I also sometimes say that, we come from the mid-generation. My father started the business. We have helped it grow, sustain, brought in a lot of innovative practices. But tomorrow is different, and we have to think and we have to plan for tomorrow. And the traditional ways of thinking have actually changed. And there have been so many lessons, especially during the pandemic, which has taught us that there is a great difference between yesterday and today. Yesterday, the shareholders came first. Today, humanity comes first. Yesterday, hierarchy was a model, but today, synergy is a mandate. Yesterday, employees took orders, but today, teams make decisions. Yesterday, seniority signified status, but today, creativity drives status, and I think that's been a huge shift. Yesterday, production determined availability, but today, innovation determines demand. So it's a complete reversal and a complete flip. Yesterday, value was extra, almost like the icing on the cake. But today, value is absolutely everything. And again, lastly, yesterday, profits were earned through pragmatism and planning. But today, service comes first and profits come afterwards. We as a group are in the business of caring, but for us, the caring comes first and the business comes afterwards. It is a new trend and it is a new year. And I think 2021 is a great new beginning. We've been through a churn, we've been through a crisis, but as humanity, we've come out stronger and more resilient. I look forward to a tomorrow where ideas will emanate from the young students, from the young entrepreneurs. I wish them every success in their endeavors. And I always will say that we look forward towards a tomorrow which is bright, which is innovative, and which will take care of humanity and the environment at large. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I wish you all the brightest of futures to come. Thank you, and namaste.
Namaste. Dr. Reddy, thank you for your words of inspiration today for the students. Thank you for reminding us of that journey from the beginning of a startup, from your father thinking, how can I help a single human being, to that arc of how do I make an impact on humanity. And I think that's a really interesting thing to leave the students with today to think about. We appreciate all your support throughout the event. We think you'll be really interested to see many of the healthcare startups that are already emerging from within this group. And we also want to say thank you for your continued support with the Schulich School of Business Advisory Board and all of your insights and wisdoms there. Thank you for joining us today. Kavya.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reddy. Your support has been of immense, it's a support that we could not have had asked for, but we got, and we are so grateful to you for that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It gives me immense pleasure to invite an idol to many, especially to a lot of women entrepreneurs and a lot of education entrepreneurs. Ms. Shaheen Mistry is the CEO of Teach for India. She has earned global recognition for her dedication and commitment to the fight for educational equity. She founded the first Akanksha Center in 1989. Over the past 25 years, the Akanksha Foundation has expanded from serving 15 children in one center to 4,500 children in 51 centers and 16 schools in Mumbai and Pune. Along with 5 colleagues, she launched Teach for India in 2008. Since then, the organization has recruited, trained, and placed nearly 1,700 fellows in schools across 7 cities. More than 1,200 Teach for India alumni are now working to realize the organization's mission from within and outside of education. Ms. Mistry is an Ashoka Fellow, a global leader for tomorrow at World Economic Forum, and an Asia Society 21 leader. Shaheen has also served on boards of Umeed, the Thermax Social Initiative Foundation, the Akanksha Foundation, the Indian School Leaders Institute and Design for Change, and is an advisor to the Latika Roy Foundation. She also serves as a committee member for the National Council for Teacher Education. Ms. Mistry, it is an honor to have you with us today. I request you to kindly take the stage and share your journey with us. It is an absolute delight.
Thank you so much, Kavya. I'm just going to share my screen. This is just one second. There we go. Firstly, it's just such an honor to follow Preeta and hear her beautiful journey. I had not heard that journey before, and I think those words at the end, today humanity matters. I think those will stay with me for a long time. It's a real privilege and honor to be here. We've actually been on a 1-week break at Teach for India. And so today is the first day back at work, and it's wonderful to have this opportunity to share a little bit of our story with you. I thought I'd show you pictures because it's the next best thing to bringing you a little bit into my world, but I'm going to take you back 30 years to start off with, to meet Pinky. I was 18 and I had just come back from America for the first time to India, and I walked into a community, and this was actually the first little girl that I met. But she remains important to me 30 years later because she had these big, beautiful eyes full of potential. And I would walk around the community thinking, oh my gosh, look at that potential. And then the other side of that thought was, oh my gosh, what's going to happen if that potential is not realized? And so really the last 30 years of my life has been in service of that thought. How do we give the highest quality opportunities to children who need them the most so that they can really maximize their potential? Sadly, the truth is very, very far from there, and many of us know these numbers, but really quickly, 1.5 million schools, tremendous diversity, 4 times the number of schools as China. Where I live, 105,000 schools just in our state. If you look at the struggle to access education, 1 in 4 kids out of school, 11 million kids still today living on the street as we enter 2021, 4.5 million girls are married under the age of 15, not enough secondary schools. And then if you look at the comparison, 0.03% of our students attend a premium private school, 2 of my daughters being 2 of them. That's 0.03%. If you look at the time of COVID, 74% of schools with no computers, digital access, making the disparity even bigger. Basically, the last line on the slide is the most important. The kids who need the most get the least. And then if you talk beyond access, look at quality, and you see our learning outcomes, which are dismal. As a country, we came 72nd of 74th in PISA. Only 1 in 3 students reach grade 12 in our country. So glaring disparities. And yet, interestingly, there's an NGO in our country for every 400 people, 3.1 million NGOs. And yet, if you look at serious improvement on most of our social issues, we haven't really moved the needle significantly. I think the reason I say all of that to a group of entrepreneurs who are young and thinking about what they're doing and starting out is really we need our best minds on our biggest social problems. Lots and lots of text just to illustrate the broken system. When you think in education about where to start, you don't really know. And yet the statistics become real when you talk to children. Here are some of my students, and they make the statistics come real. One of the students in this picture for 8 years had a tuition teacher who put chili powder in his eyes, who beat him, who made him stand naked in his community because he didn't study enough. Another one of my girls here had to choose between early marriage and staying in school. Another one of my boys has been bullied his entire life because of his height. These are real stories, and they're not the exception, they're the rule. There are no easy answers. We need to understand what our children need. We need to listen to them. We need to understand what our country and the world needs. And we need to give kids not a little, but a really high quality education. at the scale of 260 million children, this is really, really tough. And so what did we do? 12 years ago, we set out, this was our first recruitment poster with a crazy dream. We said, we want the best people in the country, people who could do anything with their lives, join the McKinseys, the Procter & Gamble's, the Citibanks of the world, to not do that, but to come and teach in our government schools. And we want them to do that because we believe that there is no leadership experience that is greater than struggling in a challenging classroom, because a challenging classroom forces you to confront pretty much every social issue that our country faces. And so we went out with this dream saying, can we build a movement of leaders who across different areas work with a singular mission to end educational inequity? Meet Tarun from our first class, 2009. The story is a funny one. His first day of school, he walked past the school 4 times because he couldn't even identify it as a school. It was a tiny hole in the wall. The first thing he said was, my classroom needs to change. And so he raised money from friends, got the classroom painted. You see here his classroom, called his classroom the Happy Harvard Classroom, because he wanted his children to have the skills and orientations to be able to, if they chose, to go to Harvard. The 2-year experience is grueling. Our kids are 3 to 5 years behind where they need to be, just in terms of learning, and they are faced with every issue that poverty throws their way. But we do the 2-year fellowship because we believe that experience will create a movement of young people that enter what we call the puzzle of educational inequity. They may choose to stay in the classroom as teachers, or they may go as far as the level of policy. I just heard a few minutes ago that one of our alumni is now a district magistrate for the most vulnerable children. So in the Northeast, he's going to be the first point of contact for any vulnerable child in the state. The beautiful thing about Teach for India is that the experience of children has caused, over this decade, 74% of our alumni to continue to work in education. And collectively, these 74% of our 3,400 alumni are touching the lives of 33 million children. These are people like Aniket, who founded Hak Darshak, an enterprise where he believed that really we have so many welfare schemes out there in the country, but the gap is that people don't know about them. Today, just a few years later, Hak Darshak is touching the lives of 75,000 individuals across 10 states. People like Safdar, who just released his first feature film. It's done remarkably well, about a little street child in Kolkata called Chippa. Safdar is working to promote theater for low-income children. Jigyasa believes that voice is the most important thing for children, and she's an advocate for voice. Her kids recite goosebumpy poetry with such conviction that comes really from their heart, poetry that they've written that really enables them to have a platform for their own voice. And of course, Tarun, who today is the founder of an organization called Indus Action, which has got more than 2.4 lakh children into private schools with an 80% retention rate. So you see that the model is 2 years of the fellowship, put your head down, really master what it takes to be a teacher, and then find your peace. And many of our alumni, 160 of them actually, have founded enterprises of their own. Today, we're 4,000 leaders strong, alumni working at all levels of the system, many of them using innovation as the biggest pivot to say, how do we get to 260 million children? In addition to the fellowship, we run 3 big programs. TFIX builds entrepreneurs in the most vulnerable parts of the country, rural India, for the most vulnerable children. The Kids Education Revolution believes that kids have to be at the table. Their voices have to be there. They have to reimagine education with us. And Firki is again an interesting enterprise, a completely free open source teacher training portal for any teacher across India. It's a new year, a new decade where Teach for India is starting to dream again about the next decade. But I'll leave you with one of my favorite Winnie the Pooh quotes. This is one of our core values, that as you set out to do whatever you dream of, keep love at the center. There's nothing more important. Love for ourselves, for each other, for our world, for the country we live in. And it's love that I think really keeps you on the path. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shaheen, and thank you for the beautiful words of love and inspiration for our students here. Thank you for quoting Winnie the Pooh. I love that. And I think that there's something that you did. I'm really glad you took the time to share the images of these people whose lives have been impacted. And I would say to the young entrepreneurs that are out there listening to your words, but also look at those faces today. That is the greatest reward. When you see someone who uses your product or gains the benefit of what you've done, how you've taught someone, and you see them out there smiling and changing the world. And all of you today have that opportunity as you're building your companies to create that impact and to one day be able to show the faces of the people who you've supported and helped as well. So thank you for joining us for those keywords. I'm going to now introduce President Rhonda Lenten from York University. And I'm going to mix this one up with a bit of the official bio, but also with my own personal words as well too. So Rhonda Lenten became York University's 8th president and vice chancellor on July 1st, 2017. And Dr. Lenten joined York in 2002 as dean of the Atkinson Faculty of Liberal and Professional Studies, where she oversaw substantial enrollment and program diversification, as well as expanded experiential education and community-based learning. And as she went on through various roles at York, leading to her position as the president, she's made an impact everywhere where she's touched the institution, but also throughout our community as well. In recognition of her leadership and service in higher education, Dr. Lenten was named one of the top 100 most powerful women in Canada by the Women's Executive Network in 2015. But what I can tell you from a personal level is that Dr. Lenten is an absolute champion of entrepreneurship. There's a reason why there's just a level of flourishing startup activity across our campus and throughout our community of York Region. And that comes from the leadership to say at the top of the institution, entrepreneurship, startups, teaching our students to think differently is important. And it's been a great pleasure for me to work for her over the last several years and to welcome her today to wrap us up and give us some closing thoughts on the event and what you're thinking, Dr. Lenten, as you've listened to this wonderful collection of people here.
Well, thank you so much, Chris and Kavya. And hello, everyone. Namaste, and a happy new year to everyone. I would like to thank all of you for taking the time to make the launch of Together 2021 so memorable. I have to say it's been a real pleasure just to listen to everyone's remarks, and I want to extend a special note of appreciation to Deepak Bagla, to Ajay Chaudhary, to Asa Grover, to the Honorable Vic Vidali, Raphael Christian Roy, Neyman Podeo, and of course, my thanks to Dr. Preetha Reddy and Shaheen Mistry for their insights and for sharing their entrepreneurial journeys with us. I also want to just say that, we've all known for many, many years that in order for any country to be successful, for any individual to be successful, that we have to create the conditions for everyone to rise, for all countries to be successful. And the pandemic has certainly reminded all of us about just how small the world is and how incredibly important humanity, creativity, innovation, and partnership is going to be for all of our well-being and all of our success. And at the core of much of that is entrepreneurship and really encouraging and being able to support entrepreneurship. And we've definitely seen that in our own university. And this means, and ideas that came forward with some of the remarks today, was that while many of us may be working locally, we can get so much further if we are working in partnership around the world. And we're thinking not only about the impact that we're having locally, but we're thinking about the impact that we're having globally. And I'm reminded that we're at a time when people's personal success can go hand in hand with improving the social circumstances around the world. That to the extent that we're able to work together and that we're creating and enhancing our successes, that is actually going to increase our own personal wealth and strength as well. It's no surprise to me whatsoever, but nevertheless, I'm incredibly grateful that York University is so involved in supporting this particular event. You know, we have a very special relationship with India. It's our second largest source of international students and the home of one of our two international campuses in Hyderabad. And therefore, India remains and will remain one of our closest and most valued international partnerships. We currently have more than 1,100 students from India, but that number has more than doubled in the past 3 years. And I think it shows the trajectory in our commitment to India and with India. We also have incredible partnerships in terms of our research and also our programming. In fact, in just this past November, we held our first ever virtual meeting with our Schulich India Advisory Council. And I think it's a testament to our commitment to India that on that advisory council, we have members like Chairman Rao and Dr. Tata, and also many other distinguished advisory members. I know some of whom I believe are participating to just our long about continuing to, I think I may have disappeared on the screen. I apologize for that. I have tech problems today, but let me just finish by saying that this summer we launched the Side Hustle program to support students developing online businesses at a time when employment opportunities were negatively impacted by COVID-19. Our Schulich School of Business has partnered with the City of Toronto to support the Shop Here program. This is again a way that our students were helping small businesses transition to online commerce after the first lockdowns began. And in November, more than 400 student change makers participated in UN Hack. And that was an experiential learning program organized by our Bergeron Entrepreneurs in Science and Technology program at our Lausanne School of Engineering to help solve real world challenges that were centered on the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. And in today's global context, we're continuing to find new solutions to address complex issues. And I see, and I very much look forward to hearing about some of the issues and startups that are going to be discussed over the next week. But issues such as inequality, the pandemic itself, climate change, this all emphasizes for us just how important innovation and entrepreneurship are and will continue to be. So I'm very delighted to have the opportunity to collaborate on an initiative that both strengthens our ties with our Indian partners and promotes sustainable entrepreneurship. The event's theme of self-reliability, sustainability, and social purpose is particularly relevant. And I'm very confident that some of the ideas born out of this week are going to continue to drive positive change in Canada, in India, and around the world. I want to thank the Startup India and all of our organizers, the participants, mentors, judges, partners, and donors for all of your support and for your enthusiasm for this event. And I especially want to acknowledge the student volunteers from Schulich and Lausanne. So my best wishes to all of you and good luck to the competitors. Thank you, merci, miigwech, namaste.
A teacher, a leader, and a woman of power is what defines Dr. Lenten. I am so grateful to Schulich School of Business, York University for the immense support. Dr. Lenten, it's all because of you. A huge, huge shout out to Mr. Ashwin Joshi, Mr. Chris Carter, Karan Vesh, Vito, and the student team who has led this initiative from the Canadian end. We're extremely grateful and we're honored to be a partner with Schulich School of Business and York University.
Thank you, Kavya. And thank you, Dr. Lenton. Great to see you. And thank you for your words this morning. So we've made it to the end of the first part. Now, students, don't go anywhere because, as we said, we're going to jump into the next session for you shortly. But as we wrap up this first part of the program this morning, the public part of our program, we wanted to remind everyone that the big next day from the public perspective is the championship finals on January 10th, 7:30 a.m. for those of us in Canada, 6 p.m. For those of us in India. And that's where you'll get to see the top 6 companies presenting live to the championship judging panel and taking on those questions that are going to determine whether they rank first, second, third, where they're going to fit at the end of all this. Everyone is going to have a great experience throughout the week, but that's the day you want to tune in and see where we got to at the end of it. So mark that down, and we'll be sending out more information. You can also follow us online at our various channels as well, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and with both Startup India and with Schulich, and keep track of what we're up to. Okay, thanks everyone. A final word of appreciation to all the amazing speakers we had today. Kavya, I had a lot of fun. We learned a lot. I think the students got a lot of inspiration. We put them off on the right foot to start the week. How are you feeling?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm full of gratitude to all the speakers who joined us today. I cannot believe that I could not have asked for a better start to this wonderful week, the first week of January, and here we go. Thank you so much, all the panelists, for joining us. A huge shout out to Dr. Ajay Chaudhary, Dr. Lenton, Ms. Shaheen Mistry, and all the Neyman Podeo and all the other panelists who are here today. And we are extremely grateful. Namaste. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Now, for all the students, don't go anywhere because we're going to put a link into the chat. And with that link, Vito's going to set us up. We're going to move over to the classroom and we're going to get started with Ben Stacy for the first session of the day. There we go. So we have the link up. You can see it in the chat now. It's come in from the support lead for Together 2021. So if you click on that, that'll allow you to start the next meeting, and we'll jump over and all get together there. And I'll look forward to seeing everyone